Hello, I'm Cornelia Gauthier, a medical doctor and a psychosomatic therapist in Geneva. Those of you who would like to know more about my professional path can go and visit my website, and there you'll find a video in English about all this. So this is the first video of a long series that is called To Live in Peace and Good Health. These videos will be about different topics such as emotions, emotional blockages, psychosomatic medicine, all different forms of violence, relationships, brain, neurotransmitters, and so many other interesting topics. I'm very happy to be able to share all my knowledge by this means of internet now, to share it with you. During these 25 past years, I have been asking myself so many questions about health, illness, the link between the two, analyzed things, tried to structure and also to create some new concepts. Therefore, I was reading lots of books and articles and went to do many different trainings. And after all these years, I really feel the need to share all this with you. One day I was listening to a video of Wayne Dyer in which he said, "Don't die with your music still inside of you." It is such a beautiful phrase. It talked to my heart. And so I decided I'm going to share all this with you. So this first video will be about emotions. So you may ask, why did you choose this topic? I think it's because emotions are what make us really specifically human. You know, we have more emotions than a stone, or even a tree, or even a computer. Of course, animals also have emotions. But we are so much more complex. So our emotions are also more complex. And this is what gives us the richness of our inner life. But it is also what can bring the most terrible troubles inside and around us when things are going wrong because emotions are blocked. So I'm going to explain all this to you in this video and the next also. The next will be about emotional blockage. And first, ask the question, what is an emotion? So maybe there is a double answer that at the end is the same. First, I could say that an emotion is an energy that goes from one part of the body to the other, mainly from the brain to the body. But we'll see that once the emotion gets to the body will send an information back to the brain, and it will constitute what we call a feedback, and it will be like a loop of energy that is circulating in our psyche and in our body, and that will give this inner life. The other answer to the question is an emotion is a psychosomatic manifestation. It means I get aware of something in my brain, and then my body immediately translates in sensations what was first the thought. So it's just beautiful how this works and how nature has invented this. And then there is a second question we can ask ourselves is, what are the emotions made for? So I think the answer could be the emotions help us to adapt to situations that change all the time. So we will see in the next video about emotional blockages that people whose emotions are blocked are not able to adapt to the situations that change. And it is very difficult for them to do this because the emotions don't circulate any longer. And so they can't do this, what they're made for. So, let me tell you, there are two kinds of different emotions. There are the primary ones and the secondary ones. The primary ones are our survival quit. We're born with. We cannot avoid them because they're generated automatically every time it's needed by the situation. So there are 6 of them. It would be better to say 5 plus 1. Let me explain this to you. First, there is joy. This is our most beautiful emotion. It is the positive one. And then there are 4 emotions we don't like. so we call them negative. But as we just give a definition of them, that we just said that they belong to our survival equipment, so we cannot say they're negative. They are positive. Even if we feel badly, they're positive. So let me tell you which they are. They're anger, fear, sadness, and disgust. And then the sixth one, I put it a little bit apart because it's a non-emotion. It's a moment you just don't feel anything. So this is why it's not completely an emotion, but it still belongs to the survival equipment. And this one is called consideration. So I explain all this to you. So first, let's talk about joy. Why is joy a survival emotion? We can understand danger, fear, in danger, for example. We can understand disgust, you know. But joy, why does it belong to our survival equipment? It is because joy is this vital and beautiful energy that makes us want to live, that makes us hope for beautiful things in the future, that makes us appreciate the good moments of our lives, of our present. It is what helps us to overcome certain difficulties. When suddenly there is an event that makes us joyful. Joy is a bliss from the nature. If we would not experience any joy, never, our life would be so difficult, so uninteresting, maybe, or really horrible if we would experience bad emotions, emotions that make us feel bad, let's say. If we would never experience joy, maybe we would be completely depressive. And even we could let us die. So joy is the fundamental emotion, the most beautiful one, and it is what makes us live. Joy is a gift from the universe for us.
Joyful, joyful Lord, we adore Thee. God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before Thee. the sun above, where the clouds of sin and sadness drive the darkened doubt away. Give up immortal gladness, fill us with a light, fill us with a light, oh, fill us with the light of day. Joyful, joyful Lord, we adore thee, God of glory, Lord of power. Hearts unfold like flowers before thee, hail me as the Son above. Sail the clouds of sin, sin and sadness, drive the dark out away, drive it away, giver of immortal gladness, fill us with the light of day.
So let's think a little bit about anger. This is strange also, isn't it? To think that anger belongs to our survival kit. To understand it better, I propose we go back to the caveman for 1 minute, just to imagine how life was at this moment, and imagine there is Mr. Cro-Magnon number 1 and Mr. Cro-Magnon number 2. So Mr. Cro-Magnon number 1 goes out for hunting, and he will not even know when he will come home. Maybe it will be in 3 days. Maybe he will be thirsty or hungry. Maybe he will have to undergo suffering under torrid heat or a freezing cold. Surely he will be very tired and sometimes even exhausted. So, if you think that now Mr. Cro-Magnon number 1 comes home to the cave with the food for him and for his family, and that Mr. Cro-Magnon number 2, who had waited around the fire, appreciating just this moment of rest and just being relaxed. If this Mr. Cro-Magnon number 2 would suddenly snatch the food from the other one, it means that Mr. Cro-Magnon number 1 had to get very angry, but very angry, you know? Even such as to hit Mr. Cro-Magnon number 2, or even to kill him, because he had to take the food back for him and his family. Otherwise they would die. So we understand that anger is really vital for us. And what about fear? So this is easier for us to understand, because fear will be the emotional reaction as soon as there is a danger. And so it will help us to try to get out of this bad and complicated moment, either by fighting or flighting. Fight or flight, we are used to this expression. Fight or flight are survival reactions. And what about sadness? This is strange, isn't it? What has it to do with survival? So this emotion is a little different from the others because it is a little longer. It is nearly a state, as we will see it, the secondary emotions are, but it still is in the survival quit because it belongs to this reflexes, automatical reflexes. We cannot choose to live or not. It happens. And so we will be sad if we lose something or somebody. And it is normal because it introduces the attachment we have to the person or sometimes some things. And so it is the manifestation of the loss of this bond. And so it's normal we're sad. It's human to be sad because it will help us by crying, by weeping, by mourning sometimes, even many days, some weeks, sometimes some months. It will help us after this to be able to write a new chapter of our life. If we would not have this emotion, we would be like a computer that has no emotions. If you take a program away, he doesn't mind. He will not mourn. He will not cry. He will not manifest it in any way because it's not human. Because a computer doesn't have any attachment. So we see that sadness is really an important emotion in mankind. And it belongs to the primary ones because it is automatic. It is transmitted like the others by our genes, in our chromosomes, in our cells. It's inscribed in them. So we welcome sadness, and it's okay to be sad. And then there is disgust. So this is quite understandable. If some food or some drink are toxic for us, we immediately realize before we swallow. We get to know about this through the appearance, through the smell, through the taste, even consistency, and it helps us to spit things out if necessary, or push them away. It is really a reflex, and it saves our lives. And sometimes we also have psychological disgust. We feel we don't want to see this person or not stay in this kind of situations. We're not at ease at all. And so disgust helps us to become aware of toxic relationships, for example. It helps us to know what's right or not for us. So we have to listen what disgust is teaching us. It is a positive emotions. All four I told you about now, anger, fear, sadness, and disgust, are positive emotions because they help us to survive. And now what about the sixth one, this funny sixth one? And it is a non-emotion. It means we don't feel anything. And I call it sideration, but I know this word does not exist. But it exists in chemistry. It is a chemical term. And in French, it exists also in the psychological terms. And it describes something very special that occurs when we are confronted suddenly to a surprise and a terrible fear, all together, added one to the other. And so it's more than just be afraid, and it's more than just be surprised. That's both of them together. And really, I didn't found an English word. Maybe we could say awe, but I'm not quite sure. So I invented this word sideration because you will understand what it means. And I will also invent the verb that goes with it, to siderate. So when I will say this, you will know that it is this sudden, terrible fear that has a special effect on us because it blocks suddenly all the muscles, it blocks the thoughts, and it blocks the possibility to express and to feel anything. Everything's blocked instantaneously. And so you may ask, but why does it belong to the survival quint? It is because sometimes it happens that your predator is stronger and runs faster than you. And in these situations, you have absolutely no possibility to escape. So nature has invented this third possibility, that is to siderate, just stop and don't move and don't speak and don't do anything more. And we all already experienced this kind of reactions. And if we imagine our lives at the period of the caveman, because it's always easier to understand if a man was pursued by a wild animal. So maybe if he would just sit, maybe the predator would pass by and not see him, you know? So it is a third possibility to escape. So the three survival reactions are fight, flight, or siderate. So these are our primary emotions. As I told you just before, they're inherited. When we ask the question, is it inherited or is it acquired? So the answer is evident. It is inherited. All human beings, but all animals, I think, are equipped with this survival kit. You know, if our ancestors didn't have this emotional survival kit, we would not exist. So let me tell you two or three things more about these emotions. They're very short ones. They will last for 30 seconds, maybe 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes, but no longer. So they originate in the psyche and in the mental brain by a sudden awareness, and then it is instantaneously transmitted to the body to will express the emotion by sensations, feelings, and reactions by moving, by shouting, by different ways of reacting. This is so rapid. And if we could draw what happens with one of these emotions in its intensity and in its duration, it would look like a Gauss curve. Maybe you remember in maths we learned this Gauss curve that has this form, you know, it increases, it gets to a maximum, and then it decreases. So it is with one of our primary emotion. It begins, some situation generates this emotion to exist for a moment, to adapt to a situation that may get us into an imbalanced situation. And so by the adaptation of the emotion will help us to rebalance it in another way, or to get out of the situation. So it increases, it gets to maximum, and then it decreases. So it is for joy, or it is for fear, for anger, for disgust. For sadness, I said it's a little slower, but all the other ones. And so there can be an accident. There may happen an accident in this evolution of the emotion. Sometimes because it's not allowed or because it is dangerous, something blocks the emotion. At this point, for example, it begins and it blocks. And so the emotion cannot continue its way. So this is a real problem. It's really one of the concepts I created to explain really what's happening. With the further videos, you will understand it better and better. But, you know, when the emotion begins and is generated, as I told you, it is an energy, and then it's blocked. So when time passes by, it's still blocked. It cannot finish, so it's blocked, and it will continue to be blocked, and it will not be able to disappear. So this will be a problem, because if you have one fear that's blocked, and second fear that's blocked, and then one anger that's blocked, or sadness that's blocked, and so you have all these different emotions that are blocked, it will deteriorate the quality of your life. As I told you, this emotion will not disappear because it is an energy. And energy cannot evaporate. Either it circulates or it is stuck, but it cannot evaporate. Imagine when you create some electricity. Then you have electricity. So either it circulates or it is stuck to circulate later, but it will never evaporate. So it's the same with our emotions. And if they're blocked, at the end, we will get ill. Our psyche will become anxious, negative, depressed, and we will have behavioral troubles. So this was, I think, the most important things I had to tell you about primary emotions. So now let's talk about the secondary ones. They're quite different because they have absolutely nothing to do with survival. They are the result of our experiences, good or bad. It depends what's happening. And if we undergo very difficult moments and that we're suffering a lot, our feelings will be negative, of course. And the memory we will have of these bad experiences will be recorded that way. They will be registered, let's say inscribed, in our DNA by an epigenetic process. The epigenetic is something different from genetics. If you think about the genes, genetics will make us have blue eyes or black hair or be small or be tall and such things. But epigenetic information will not change something in the gene. It will not make a gene appear or one disappear. It is a phenomenon that blocks the expression of a gene or makes it express. You know, it is a kind of modulation of the genes. And so this is always, every day, it is changing, because every day we live different experiences. So our DNA is always modulated by this epigenetic phenomenon. So if we ask the same question as before, is it inherited or acquired? So these are acquired by the experiences. And so it will make us create, in fact, these secondary emotions. I mean, we will not create them because we're not going to make them. We're going to experience things, and they will, through the epigenetic process, inscribe it in our genes. And this altogether will create these secondary emotions. So the bad ones, for example, are hatred, or jealousy, or all sorts of violence, maybe doubt, feeling of guiltiness, feeling of shame. So you understand, there are lots of them. And the other way, we also have nice secondary emotions. This will be happiness, it will be empathy, it will be caring for others, it will be wanting to share, curiosity, gratitude, and such good emotions that will make our life so beautiful.
Regarde la maison et cherche bien au fond. Tu trouveras mon cœur et la douceur qui manque à ton bonheur. As-tu le goût de vivre une vie de velours qui fait que l'on s'ennuie à voir venir le jour? As-tu le goût d'entendre mille paroles tendres? As-tu le goût du goût de miel aux couleurs de l'arc-en-ciel?
So you understand that we're not equal in life because of this. Because if you grow up in a neglecting family or mistreating, or in a loving one, the experiences of your life will be so different. And so your secondary emotions will be so different also. So if we think of two babies born the same day, the same weight, all of them being healthy, but one was desired and not the other one. Sometimes parents who did not desire a child then are very happy. but sometimes they cannot accept. Sometimes they would like to abort them, or they're not happy about this baby coming now. It was not planned. So you see, already before the child's born, it's different. And maybe, we don't know, there are already secondary emotions being created. We don't know. Maybe. But when the baby is born, it will be very different, because a child who is not wanted, who is born in a family, maybe they have emotional and even social or even professional problems. Quite a lot of situation in life, you know, it happens all the time. So if this baby is born in this family, maybe or probably people will not really care for this child, or not enough, or will not protect him, or will even shake him, or will even hit him, or will even mistreat this child, and so on, you know. If it begins like this and continues like this till somebody gets conscious of it and then decides to change. Because my message is that it is always possible to change at any moment if we become conscious of it and if we decide to change. It is always possible to change. So I wouldn't like you to be despaired or to think so everything's it's finished. No, it is not. Just you now looking at this video, something will change inside of you. And now there are lots and lots of absolutely beautiful therapists, and maybe you will have to need some help. There are also lots of good and interesting books and so many beautiful videos. So you have all the tools now to help yourself and to ask for help if you need. But now let's come back to this baby that maybe will become a mistreated child or neglected child. And the other one that was desired, that was so welcomed, that was so, you know, we cared for, we helped him every time he cried, we were so in empathy with the child and loving it. And so this baby will have so many beautiful chances to succeed in his life. He will become a joyful baby and a joyful child and interested child, intelligent child, and so, and their lives will be completely different, and so their secondary emotions also. And then it will change behaviors. I would like to take the most terrible example I can, but really I believe it. Let's think of Hitler. Maybe the worst monster on this earth. But let's think at this little Adolf of one day, was just born. Was he already this monster? I don't believe so. This baby was innocent. But we know that Hitler was a battered child. He has been hidden every day by his stepfather for years. humiliated, mistreated horribly. And his mother was not able to help him. She was not protecting him. So Hitler had a double terrible experience. He was not loved by the stepfather, and he was not loved and protected enough by the mother. So he was completely alone to try to do something with what he was living every day, enduring, let's say, the right word. And so he became what he became. We know. Imagine this same baby, the little Adolf, being welcomed by his mother and his father and cared for every day with love, with empathy, with happiness, with joy. Do you really think he would have become this monster? I tell you no. I'm sure about what I say now, because this field of emotions really, I know it very, very, very well. And so I am sure to affirm that he would not have become this monster. So you see, this is just to show you what secondary emotions can do, why they're generated, the bad ones and the good ones, and what they generate after. And we don't really have the choice. It depends where we're born and where, in which family we arrive here on this earth. But, as I told you, I still repeat it, it can change for each one of you. If you have been the parent who did not welcome the child, or if you were this child that was not welcomed, it can change. So, yes, in the contrary of the primary emotions, the secondary ones are long in their duration. They can last for days, weeks, months, years. It is like a certain state. It's quite a stable state, and then there may be some peaks of joy or of hatred, depends in which state you are. But usually people who are in negative secondary emotions are always in a bad mood, and everything's difficult, and they don't believe in nothing and nobody else. So there is this bad sensation all the time, or they can be in fear all the time, in terror, they can be anxious about different things, they can be depressed. So this is the negative picture or photograph, let's say, of the negative secondary emotions. And on the contrary, everything will be absolutely beautiful for, you know, all the time, being in peace, feeling gratitude, being in this kind of stillness, of happiness. It's a state. But sometimes to get to this good state, we have to work for it. It just doesn't just appear like this. But of course, the children who begin their life in this state will have really a good experience, and they will have quite many beautiful moments like this. because they just have this gift from the universe, you know. So I hope I said the most important things. Yes, there is just one more thing I would like to say. You cannot change the genetic to be transmitted when the baby is conceived. I mean, if this baby is going to have the blue eyes or the black hair, we cannot change this. But the epigenetic inscriptions in DNA, the ones that are created every day, will be transmitted also at the moment of conception. So the epigenetic state of this moment will be transmitted. It is important to know, because it helps us to think that if we are able to choose the moment of this conception, that is not always the situation, I know, but if we're able to choose, and let's give some time to resolve the most important problems we have, so we don't transmit them. And if we couldn't, as I told you, everything can change always. So decide to change, and if you cannot do it by yourself, ask for help. And never feel guilty. You're not guilty for having transmitted problems of violence, for example. You did not know, or you could not do it differently. So don't feel guilty for this. But do ask for help if necessary. Okay, now I believe I told you the most important things. So everything I told you till now was completely true till these 2 last decades, let's say, because some researchers, very skillful, very intelligent, very capable researchers had an intuition that maybe it's not the brain that gives orders to all the body. This was a completely revolutionary idea. So they had the intuition. It was the heart. It's so strange, isn't it? Because with all the neurons we have in the brain, we can understand that the brain is in command. But what about the heart? It's just a pump. It's a cardiac pump. It helps blood to circulate. But, you know, it's not just a pump. And this is the scoop of this video. I just learned about this 2 months ago. Before I did not know, so maybe you will not know about what I'm going to tell you now. These researchers, especially in HeartMath Institute, had this intuition. It was the heart who was giving orders to the brain, and the brain would give orders to the body. But then they had to prove this, you know. They had to demonstrate. And so they did it. With their very thin measurements, they were able to demonstrate that the electromagnetic field of the heart is 5,000 times more important than the one of the brain. Do you imagine such a thing? It's absolutely incredible. 5,000 times. So they realized that the heart is also a sensorial organ, even the first of all. And that it is really the conductor of the orchestra. He will guide and give orders to the whole body and all the time. And so the emotions I was telling you about just before don't really originate in the brain. They originate in the heart. And the heart then tells the brain, and the brain then tells the body what to do. It's so important. So the emotion goes from the heart to the brain to the body. So it will be like this. It will not be like this. It will be like this. And this changes everything, because as long as we thought it was the brain that was the conductor of the orchestra, we were wrong. And all things went wrong, because the brain is, let's say, the first violin of the orchestra, but not the conductor. It's the heart that is the conductor. And in the heart, you find the most beautiful emotion. The one I did not tell you till now, that is love. The universal and unconditional love. It is in the heart. And so we have to go to dwell in our hearts again, because we're too much in the brain. And this is why there are always thoughts turning around in our brain, because we don't live in a good place. Our place is in the heart. And there we'll find this beautiful feeling of fulfillment when we are connected to this universal energy of love. This is a gift. It's a gift of life. This energy of love is the one that pre-existed before the universe even was created. It's eternal and universal, and it's so beautiful that we can connect to it. But therefore, we have to go back to live into our heart.
Quand on n'a que l'amour pour vivre nos promesses, sans nulle autre richesse que d'y croire toujours. Quand on n'a que l'amour pour meubler de merveilles et couvrir de soleil la laideur des faubourgs. mort. Alors sans avoir rien que la force d'aimer, nous aurons dans nos mains, amis, le monde entier.
And the brain does not know how to be the conductor. So he makes things wrong. And in our material and rational period of thinking, especially last century, before already a bit, but last century and beginning of this one, as long as we believe the brain is doing everything, we believe that it's thanks to the mental analysis. But you know, the mental analysis are many times wrong because they can analyze only things they know. And this is very little comparing to macrocosm or microcosm. It is very little. We don't know so much. And so every time we make a decision only based on mental analysis, many times it's wrong because there were other things we did not know that interact. It helps us to understand why things are going wrong on this earth and that it is nearly getting into a mess. Because the brain is such a beautiful, beautiful organ. It's so precise, it's so extraordinary, you know? But it's just a tool. Let's say a filter, an organ that filters the information and that transmits then to the body. So this discovery is extraordinary and it gives hope for this earth to understand this now. And you know, in the HeartMath Institute that is in California, they really studied and researched so many things on this topic. But they made an incredible experience. I think they were surprised by themselves because they asked volunteers to participate to experiences in which they were cabled with this very thin instruments, measure instruments. And they were shown pictures of beauty, of happiness, and of horror. Alternatively, but in an aleatory way, this means it was done by a computer and neither the researchers nor the volunteers would be able to know which image would appear next. And so there was always one image, a pause, another image, a pause, and so. And these instruments were measuring the heart and the brain and all the time. And of course, the researchers thought you would see some differences when it was horror or where it was just happiness. Maybe, for example, cardiac rate would change. But what this experience showed was that the changes, the physical changes, occurred before the image was shown. To imagine such a thing, nobody knew which image would be shown, but already the body was, for example, accelerating his rhythm when there was horror and so, before the image was shown. So it means before the brain would be able to see, to register, to understand what it was about, the body had already changed some seconds before. So it means that the heart knew already which image would be shown. It's incredible. And this is through intuition. Intuition is 5,000 times more important than mental analysis, because it analyzes everything in the universe and the cosmos at the same time. It belongs to the universal intelligence of this world, of this universe, let's say. And when we're connected to our intuition, we're connected to the whole universe. And so we are always right. When there is doubt, it's a mental thing that doubts. And many times you have an intuition, we're able to feel it. And then at the last moment we think, no, it's not possible. And we analyze it mentally. And then we make a wrong decision, because the right one was the one of the intuition. So let me tell you how I got to know about this. In fact, it's thanks to Baptiste de Pape, who is a young lawyer of Amsterdam who made some brilliant studies and who could work in all the famous lawyer offices of Amsterdam after his diploma, and who suddenly realized that in fact he did not want to work as a lawyer. So he went through an important crisis, he and his family. And so he did not know what to do, but he did not want to be a lawyer. And so he was searching, and he tried to get in contact with his intuition. And one day he had the idea. He wanted to make a film about love. Such an idea, you know, because he never learned how to make a film. It is quite a difficult profession. He was a lawyer, he was not a filmmaker. But he had this intuition, and so he decided he was going to do this. And he did it. And he made an absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful film. It took him 5 years of work, traveling around the world, interviewing all different kind of people who had made this journey from the brain to the heart, and who could give their testimony, the personal testimony about what it meant for them. And so I show you now the DVD. Of course it's in French, but in English it's called The Power of the Heart. You can find it everywhere. And he wrote also a beautiful book, same title, The Power of the Heart. And you know, really, buy this DVD and watch it, and buy the book and read it. In the book there are some beautiful pictures of the people who were interviewed. And it's a very aesthetic book. And there is such a beautiful idea that he put a mandala on each one of the heart of each one of this person. And each one has his own mandala. You know, it's such a beautiful idea. And when there are different people answering questions, there is always a little mandala that helps us to know who is just talking at this moment or responding to this question. And you see, in the cover of the book, you see the mandala, the white one, it's glowing in the night. It's such a lot of details. And it's very aesthetic, you know. And if you are thinking about what to offer, what kind of present to buy to somebody for his birthday or such a moment, you can really, surely offer them or the DVD or the book or both. They're beautiful presents, really, I tell you. Do it. So, we are at the end of this video. I just want to say 2 words about the credit. As you could read it at the beginning, these videos are made in the idea to help bring peace on the earth in a very humble action, but really I do what I can. And each one of these videos will be recorded in this state of mind and of heart. And so I was searching for music that could really translate my intentions. And that was talking about peace. And so I suddenly remembered the beautiful song called "Make Me a Channel of Your Peace." And so I was searching for different person and there are different performances. And I chose a children choir of the Oxford School, Dragon Oxford School. It was the most beautiful performance I really heard. And so I want to thank the director of the school who gave me the permission to use this video, this recording, in my videos. So thanks a lot for this. And so I'm very happy to be able to share all this with you today. You know, with this joy of the heart, I hope I can transmit to you all. And I would encourage you to go and to listen to the end of the credit, because at the end you will hear a duo between a girl and a boy that is so crystalline that it is really divine. And I want you to experience this. I encourage you to go to experience this. And so now I'm going to say goodbye to you. I hope you enjoyed this video. And I say see you soon in 1 month. Bye-bye.